Can I ask, how did you possibly cope with what you had to put away? I mean, it's 13 years ago. And how did you deal with that, Neil?
Well, the people behind the scenes, the club were really brilliant with me. And the security people at the club were brilliant with me. And then you go in every day, and you look at the players who were brilliant for me, and you think, I'm not going to give this up. Work too hard to walk away from this. Really super talented young players like Hooper, Joe Ledley, Keeson Young, James Forrest, Emilio Zaguirre. They come from all over the world to play for you and Celtic, and you're watching them train every day, and you see them playing with quality and a joy, and you think, nah, I'm not giving this up, no chance. And my family were, really supportive as well, obviously.
But I mean, it's horrific for your family as well. Your parents back home would have been reading about this.
But they were well reassured about everything, and I was reassured by the people, whether it be the police or, like I said, people like Ronnie Hawthorne at Celtic who were fantastic, and so it wasn't a major concern for me overall. And sometimes through the chaos, you really knuckle down and do your best work.
Were you ever fearful, Neil? I mean, amid all the death threats and the bullet and the bomb in the post, were you ever fearful in your private moments at that particular time?
When I got attacked in the street, that was
in the West End.
Yeah, couldn't remember anything about that, so that was a worry. That was obviously, you wake up in the hospital, you're like,
you were unconscious, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. On the ground. So that was the only time really when you worry about that.
I mean,
and I wasn't even the manager then. I was only first team coach. So that was a concern.
I remember a pre-match press conference at Parkhead, and you were expected to do it, and you didn't. And at the last minute, I think it was Alan Thompson did it, and it then became clear why. And I think the police had then discovered the package at that time. It had been intercepted. And I think all of us at that time were thinking, it was just such shock it got to that level. But it was testament to your character. You went through that and carried on when many others would have justifiably went, you know what, enough's enough.
Yeah, but then do what? It's not a case of letting them win. It's a case of what I want to do. This is my life, and this is the career that I've built, and the blood, sweat and tears for a long, long time to be in the position of Celtic manager. Then do what, then you're sort of, I'm not tarnished, but it follows you around then, and would it be possible to get another job on top of that? Go into media, I love doing the media, but it's not what I want to do, it's not my passion. It's not what gets, it doesn't stimulate me, but I enjoy it. So, give it up for what, Derek, And
I also remember coming to interview you at the home of your late friend Paul McBride up at Charing Cross, and it was a few days before the game at Inverness that cost you the title, and you said something to me, I must admit, it stunned me as well. There was always somebody undercover just 2 minutes away if you needed them. There was a point in
with a panic button in the house, and
I think you said to me that particular day, Neil, there is somebody that is very nearby that if I need them. And I remember arriving, I couldn't see anyone, but you said it to me, but that was the extent of your situation.
Yeah, sometimes we'd have a car outside the house and then we'd have a panic box put in the house for, maybe 6 months. And my granddaughter set it off one day. She thought it was a toy and pressed it. And the next thing, there was like 4 SWAT cars outside the house. And you're like, oh dear, I had to go down, sorry, it was a mistake.
I mean, it's like we can laugh about it now, but I mean...
I tried to blank all that out. I was reassured by people who went, right, okay, so let's get on with the job. That's...
Were the people at Celtic terrific for you?
Oh, amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
So supportive, yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So.
Of course, at that time, you got Peter Lawwell, chief executive, and Dermot, and clearly that kind of support you'll never forget.
No, yeah, they were amazing. And like I said, people say you walk away. You could walk away, but to what? So I'm glad I stayed, put it that way, because I had some great days after it.
What advice would you give to any young manager coming up that suddenly starts to face a bit of pressure from fans?
Try to... everyone says block out the noise. It's a difficult thing to do, Derek, but that's what you have to do. Just try and do the job as best you can. And the criticism will turn into praise once you get your job rolling. It's not, like I say, fans are fickle. You can be a hero one week and a zero the next week, and you have to be balanced and you have to work out what's the reality here. Are you a terrible manager? Well, if you are, where's the evidence? Are you a good manager? Well, if you believe in yourself and going to be a good manager, then stay on that track. Try to, you're going to get criticised. That's one thing about this job. You're going to get criticised. You're not going to please everybody all the time. And that's not just in football, that's just in life. So be happy and do what you want to do and do it the way you want to do it. And if it doesn't work, then so be it. Yeah. If you can change and you think you're flexible enough to change it and good enough to change it, then do that. But if you're stuck my advice would be don't stick to the one way of playing. And if it's not working, you got to change it.
You had 2 spells as Celtic manager, each of them with a 70% win rate. Your first spell, you win the first of the 9 in a row titles. Last 16, Champions League, Barcelona, unforgettable. Do you still get a tingle when you think of that Barcelona game, Neil?
When I see highlights of it, when I see Tony Watt scoring the goal and then running over to the corner, it's just an amazing scene. And at the time you don't realise the significance of it, that it was so big. Of course, as a manager, you're thinking, well, we're beating Barcelona, which is amazing, but we got to qualify. That's the only thing I was thinking about after the game. But then, if you look back on it, it's one with immense pride and just the scenes that night, and it being the 125th anniversary of the club as well. So, very special.
I was privileged to be that night. I was also privileged to be in Moscow when you beat Spartak, which was a magnificent result as well. And I think that was almost like you properly arriving as a manager, Neil.
Yeah.
I think that was also, for my opinion, you demonstrating your depth as a manager, your substance as a manager. Because I still, to a degree, I think you didn't maybe get enough credit you deserved at certain times. People just saw a certain side to you and thought, well, there's no real substance. It's all emotion. But you know the game, you know the tactics, and you'd obviously done your in-depth preparation for those games. And then you subsequently, you went to, I think it was at Neon, you were invited with all the elite coaches.
Yeah.
That must have been...
That was an incredible experience, sitting there with... you're sitting having dinner with Arsene Wenger and Rafa Benitez and, Ancelotti sitting at the other table, and you're having a drink with Andre Villas-Boas at the time, and it was an incredible couple of days,
Asking Carlo to pass the salt. And,
and Andre to get us round in.
See when you were in their company, did it really feel top notch? Did
you
feel,
it's quality,
I've earned this.
So you're sitting, it's almost like a United Nations sort of auditorium, and you're sitting there with your headphones on, and they're going through all aspects of, European football and where UEFA wanted to take the game, evolve it, and that's what we're seeing now with the new sort of spectrum of the Champions League in terms of, the way they've changed the groups into these sort of like division things, because for a long time a lot of the Eastern European countries felt that they weren't getting a fair crack at the whip, or the smaller nations, or the teams like your Sparta Pragues, your Shakhtar Donetsks, and now they've got an opportunity with the Champions League being expanded to actually play in the Champions League and compete, and for clubs like that, it's brilliant. You'd sort of clubs last year, like Bratislava playing in it, clubs from Czechoslovakia who probably never had the opportunity before, and they're getting more of a bite at the cherry now, which is it's good for the game, good for the clubs.
And yet back in 2010, did you think you'd blown it with that defeat at Ross County? Did you? I remember you asking.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
I remember we went to Football Writers Dinner that year, and I saw you outside and you said, what do you think, Derek? Do you think I'm going to get it? And I thought, well, I was concerned for you, just the nature of that defeat. But then you came out and you annihilated the team, and I thought, well, he's got nothing to lose at this point.
No, exactly. I was interim, so I didn't really care. And I just felt that the players, they weren't... It wasn't what I was expecting from a Celtic player, or what you would demand from a Celtic player. And then we went on. They responded really well. We went on to win all the rest of the games, to the end of the season. So, I mean, it could have went either way. Sometimes life goes your way and you get a bit of luck along the way as well. So, but you know, you don't get the Celtic job just on a whim. You have to earn it, like, and you know, the people in charge make those decisions with a succinct and clear mind.
How big are Peter Lawwell and Dermot Desmond for you?
Yeah, I mean, Dermot is a genius for me, not just from a sporting point of view, but look at his intellectual point of view. He's a very successful man, well, hugely successful. Probably the most successful man I've ever come across in terms of, you know, what he's earned and generated and built in his career. And an intellectual level of no one else I've ever come across before. Very forward thinking, you know, always looking to the future. Very, I have to say, proactive in supporting Irish sportsmen as well, you know, whether it be football, golf, you know, Gaelic football. Yeah, he loves the sport, but he loves Celtic, and a huge sort of corner of advice for. And Peter, you know, not only, you know, a great administrator, but, you know, very astute. Fell out with him loads of times, you know, as you would do, you know, over deals or contracts or whatever. But what he did, and, you know, I'll take this, everything he did was for the betterment of Celtic Football Club. You know, every deal, every decision that was made, it was all for the sake of the club. Always came first.
How do you feel about what's going on just now?
I think it's unnecessary. I don't agree with it. I've gone on record as saying that. I think they've brought great success to the club. They've fought many battles for the club as well. Many battles they've won against the odds. And I just think, you know, since 2000, the success the club has had 25 years later has been incredible. The amount of titles, Champions Leagues, UEFA Cup final, player trading, you know, the money in the club has now in terms of how well and sustainable the club is run. The health of the club is what they think about going forward, because they know they're not going to be there forever. But what they've achieved on and off the field, you know, if you look at it over a spectrum of work, it's incredible.
Do you feel that whatever else people think about them, when they go, there's some acts to replace, aren't there?
Well, good luck. Yeah, good luck. I mean, the quality of people I work with or I came across on the Celtic board, you know, they're all high achievers in their own field.
Do you know, Neil, that's one thing I've often thought through the years. When you look at the respective boardrooms of Celtic and Rangers, Rangers have had a lot of supporters in the boardroom. Celtic have had former cabinet ministers and captains of industry. Yeah. I mean,
incredible calibre of people. And again, always looking ahead, taking care of the business side of the club. I mean, if you look at Celtic Park now, that frontage, it's just stunning.
Yeah.
You know, the Barrowfield's being done, Lennoxtown's always being revamped. The club has changed so much for the better off the field, and then you've got all that success. There's no way Martin O'Neill, Brendan Rodgers, you know, the managers of the Silk, Gordon Strachan, would have come to Celtic if it hadn't been for Dermot Desmond and the influence and what he would have brought to the club. No way, honestly.
When you left in 2014, was there a relief element to it? The pressure?
No.
You could be I remember phoning you and you were down in London. And
yeah, it was tumultuous 4 years. And 4 years at Celtic, I think it's about right in the modern game, you know. Sometimes you think could have gone on, but there was no sort of competition domestically at the time, and I just felt it was a good time to sort of give myself a break. I wanted a break.
You went back, of course, for a second time, extraordinary circumstances. I also remember seeing you about 2 weeks before. You never saw that one coming, I don't think.
No. I'd left Hibs in extraordinary circumstances, and then obviously
2019.
Yeah, Brendan left, and then I got the call to come in and would have taken the team on to the end of the season. It was difficult, I have to say, because you're following, you know, a guy who had put a foot wrong. You know, Brendan had won everything, and you were under the spotlight to continue that on. So we won the treble, and then you know you're going to win another treble, and then the whole thing got shut down due to COVID, and that sort of changed everything.
I thought it was incredible. You win the Scottish Cup, and then you get offered the job in the showers of all places.
Well, it wasn't in the showers. It was in like, you know where Hampden is. There's a little dressing room off where the manager gets changed, and you know Peter and Dermot came in and said, they were really pleased and said, look, would you take the job on with John Kennedy and Damien Duff? And I said, yeah, of course I would, yeah. I think they wanted to get that announced straight after the game.
The COVID season, I mean, my word, what a difficult season.
But I think like it was, difficult for a lot of clubs, and we were one of them to suffer from that.
I mean, I got the impression everything that could go wrong that season for you and the team did go wrong. And obviously you'll reflect on it and we could have done this better and that better, but the circumstances were so extreme.
Yeah, and it was just
for life in general, of course.
Oh, yeah, and things that were totally out of your control. And then the novelty of playing in empty stadiums, it soon wore off on the players after 2 or 3 games. And then there was that, I know everyone was in the same boat, but I look at the, so Liverpool, for example, they won the league the previous season like we did, and then they scraped 4th place in the COVID year. Do you remember Alisson scored the header at West Brom? And they'd had a 50-game unbeaten record in Anfield, and then I think they lost 5 or 6 in a row. And that was under Jurgen Klopp. So it wasn't exclusive to me or Celtic, but yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things that you couldn't control. It was very fragmented with a lot of players getting COVID, whether they be away on international duty or just being out and about. A lot of them were confined to their homes. We couldn't get the players in we wanted. I couldn't get out to see players that I wanted. So yeah, a lot of things went against me.
Was the pressure for 10 in a row suffocating?
Because obviously you weren't around people in that. I think a lot of players wanted to go because they'd done everything. I mean, they'd won 4 trebles in a row, Derek. So I think they'd every right to think they wanted a new challenge, but they couldn't go because the money wasn't there from other clubs, and there was no way they were going to reach the asking price that the club wanted at the time. So you had some unsettled players around the place as well, on top of everything else that was going on. I'm not putting it all solely on the players. I'm going to look back on it, you can't, because no one knew what was going on. It changed from day to day, it changed from week to week.
Recruitment wasn't good enough, was it?
No, but I don't blame a lot of people for that. I think, like I say, I couldn't go out and look at a Barcas because you couldn't get out and travel to see them live. So you're going off reports and you're going off video and that type of stuff. So yeah, a couple of the players who came in didn't do as well as what we had done previously with recruitment.
Dubai in January, do you look back in that way, any regrets, or do you still?
Probably not going. Maybe.
You shouldn't have gone. Is that what you're thinking when you look back?
When you look back now, yeah, you're probably not a great decision, because players came back with COVID.
13 players and 3 staff, including yourself.
No, there was only 2 had it, right?
Right.
But because, and then the rules got changed because we were in proximity on a bus over there, on a flight over there. They shut us down. 13 of us had to shut down, which was ridiculous, and we were pretty angry about that. But it was a consequence of going away.
You didn't miss Nicola Sturgeon, did you?
No.
And you still feel a rage about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm justified in it as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we had permission from the government to go, and then when we came back, the rules were changed. All of a sudden, we were travelling in 3 or 4 buses, where previously we'd been travelling in 1. No one told us about my medical team had actually measured out the distances on the plane. They still moved the goalpost to shut us down. So yeah, I was not happy about that at all.
Was there any?
I've no regrets about that whatsoever.
That was one of your most memorable, certainly, outbursts. You didn't miss when you let it all out there.
Yeah, because it was a lie.
Yeah.
And I seen it at first hand. People basically lying, and then playing politics. So, and when I look what's happened since then to the Scottish government, you have to sort of question the level of some of the people that are working there. Within
a month, you were away from the club. I mean, is that a kind of sadness for you that it ended that way?
Yeah, I mean, I look at the way it ended for Scott Brown as well. In that COVID year, and he deserved to walk out with a outstanding ovation for the service that he had given the club. So yeah, it was disappointing, but you could never predict a pandemic coming.
you think you'll ever get back?
I don't know. I mean, I've got good relationships with the fans and people at the club, so I love the club, always will. So I don't know. Would I be welcome back? I would be a lot of people, I'm sure, but at the minute I've got my hands full with Dunfermline.
I mean, I felt for you when you left Celtic because I thought you were better than Bolton. I thought you deserved better than Bolton. It should have been a bigger club, a better stage for you, but it was what it was. All things considered, I thought you did remarkably well at Bolton. Yeah. Extremely difficult circumstances.
Didn't realise how bad it was going to be because we kept them up. When I went in, they were bottom, but I felt that the potential having come down the season before. But what I didn't realise was, a month after I'd signed for the club, that they weren't going to put any more money in. So the following season, the club went into administration, and that was a really difficult time for myself, but more for the fans and the people around the club. It was just, unfortunate because a lot of people have put a lot of money into the club and not got a lot back from it.
Brilliant job at Hibs. I loved the dynamic with you and Craig Levine. I thought it was fantastic.
Well, it was good fun.
It was tremendous. The capital was a place to be. The games were brilliant. You two, it just was pure theatre.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I think Craig enjoyed it. I think we both did, played up to it, and yeah, we got the place. It was buzzing.
See behind the scenes with the two of you going, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and that, So I loved it. The couple of years I had at Edinburgh, 2.5 years was great, and again got to work with fantastic players, John McGinn, Martin Boyle, Paul Hanlon, Louis Stevenson, all great stalwarts of the club. But Martin's still going strong, playing as well as ever. Dylan McGeoch had a great time under us. Loved it. Martin Bartley, just a really good, talented bunch of players who responded to what we were trying to do.
2 spells abroad, Ammonia, Rapid Bucharest. I mean, you don't shirk challenges, Neil. I
loved Ammonia, but I was sort of shocked in the end. So we're playing Man United at Old Trafford on a Thursday night.
I was there.
We lose 1-0 in the 94th minute.
Incredible.
I'll never forget Scott McTominay for that, although he's been great. And then, a week later, they said that time's up. I just won the cup. We're in the Europa. We were sitting sort of 4th or 5th in the league. It's just bonkers decision, really.
The goalkeeper was unbelievable.
He was that night, Big Francis, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, but I had a real great time. And Bucharest was just 5 games and just a strange sort of setup. Not again, you're sold a vision. We were brought in to change the culture, and they didn't want to change the culture. But again, it's all experience, and Ian came with me to Bucharest. Gary Parker with me in Cyprus, and I loved it. It just takes you never know where football takes you next.
You loved the lifestyle. I remember phoning you as well. You were into salads. You were going to the gym. You were down the beach.
The life
What's going on here? This is not the Neil Lennon I know here.
I'm walking into training every day in shorts and flip-flops, and again a really good group of players. And it's the players, you enjoy the players, and you get to know them. And like I said, winning the cup was a fantastic feeling, to win a major trophy in a different country, and then just enjoying the lifestyle away from it. For a year, it was a great experience.